Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Toilets to Titles NFL Show. I am your host, Joe, otherwise known as Joe Knows, otherwise known as at Joe J underscore Clark. And it's Wednesday night. I'm going to once again review the previous NFL games from week 2, and I'm going to give my picks for the week 3 games. So looking forward to doing it as always. If I had a co-host last week, and his name is Andrew Steele Davis. Shout out to Andrew Steele Davis. He will be back next week. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. I know everyone who watched the show loved him last week. He did a great job, and I had an awesome time doing the show with him. So looking forward to working again with him next week. And I got my dog Melvin over here looking to bug me, of course, as I go live. But anyway, everyone, before we get into the juicy content, let's just knock the bells and whistles out of the way. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review if you can. It always helps us out a lot. You know you got the time, especially if you're just sitting on the toilet for like 30 seconds. Doesn't take long. 5-star Apple review. We really appreciate it. Or even when you're driving. Though it's totally cool to text, and when you're driving, I give the A-OK. It's quite all right. Get rid of this over here. And Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify are where you can follow the show. All formats are wonderful to listen to me at. Melvin agrees. My dog Melvin agrees. He's over here to give me some moral support. Patreon.com/titles. That's where you can go, where you can learn how to further support the show. And I just want to give a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. And Melvin is saying thank you as well. Thank you for your support. Everything you contribute, every dollar you contribute goes back into the show, into all of our programs to make everything better. Hang on one second while I deal with Melvin. I apologize for the difficulty. All right. I just called the wife in for reinforcements to take care of Melvin. He's being a nuisance. Anyway, also, we have our website, toiletstotitles.com. All of our videos, articles, tons of fantasy, NFL, college football, and draft content are there. Check it out. Everything we make goes onto our website. So it's a great website. I'm really proud of it. And that's pretty much the bells and whistles. I got 2 comments over here. Chris's videos. Chris, our #1 supporter over here. How's it going, my friend? Chris says, I have Justin Herbert in my lineup, but don't know if he will play. Should I start him or Burrow? Well, you know what? I heard that he was injured, Chris. And me, myself, I'd go with Herbert if he's going to play. Herbert, if he's going to play. Um, I'm not sure when are the Chargers playing. Is it Thursday night? Is it Sunday? I would just wait to see if he can. If he's gonna play, I'd wait for the last second. If he's gonna play, I'd rather go with Herbert. Burrow is. I'm a big believer in Burrow in general, but his offensive line has been horrendous. I think Burrow's been sacked 13 times so far. This in the first 2 weeks. That's insane. We thought maybe those O-line problems were fixed. Doesn't look like it. So I would wait until you get to the last second to see what news comes up on Herbert, and then I'd roll with Herbert. Uh, all right, hey, Uncle Steve is checking, and Steve Evans. He says he'd start Burrow, and Steve does know his stuff, so he says he'd start Burrow. Good to see you too, Uncle Steve. I had a great time with you in Canton, my friend, a really good time. And I look forward to seeing you the next year as well, because I do plan on being back at Canton. I had a wonderful time when many of us at the Toilets Titles crew got together at Canton back in August, and we went to the Hall of Fame, and we did one of our episodes from over there. We launched our Frankenstein season when we were at Canton together. We had a great time. Chris's videos, having a fever sucks. Hey, Chris, I hope you're feeling okay, man. I mean, last time you and I kind of chatted a little bit. You said you'd been sick for a little while. I hope you're feeling okay, man. I hope you're feeling okay. Sunday at 4:25. I'd give it some time, Chris. I'd give it some time. Steve, like I said, Uncle Steve Evans, he says go with Burrow. Steve is known to know his stuff as well. Myself, I'm just scared about Cincinnati's offensive line. I think they're playing the Jets. Well, we're going to go through the games on Sunday. I do my picks a little later. But I don't know, man. I'd kind of wait it out and see what the news is on Herbert. I myself would prefer to play him. Um, let's see. Burrow's at 1 p.m. Sunday. All right, Chris, I'd say wait till Sunday morning. Wait till Sunday morning to make that decision. But I do expect Burrow to get back on track. And listen, I know they've got the Bengals. Like I said, their offensive line has been horrendous this year, and Cincinnati's not off to a great start. But I fully believe in Burrow. I believe in those weapons that he has, and I do think they're going to turn things around. I really do. So I don't know, man. If you want to go with Burrow, like Steve says, like Steve recommends, I'd be totally cool with it if I were you. I mean, I totally believe in Burrow. I think the first 2 weeks are kind of more of an aberration. And remember, too, they got destroyed. Cincinnati's offensive line got destroyed by Dallas's defense last week. Dallas's defense is one of the best in the league. That defense is legit. I think they sacked him 6 times last week. That defense is legit. So it's kind of like it should get easier from there for the Bengals offensive line. I don't know, man. Yeah, he's such a darn good quarterback. I'd feel totally comfortable going with it. But like I said, my advice is wait till Sunday morning, see what the report is on Herbert, and then go from there. But I think either way, you're pretty good. I mean, you got Herbert and Burrow as your two quarterbacks. Chris, you got a nice stable over there. You got a nice stable, my friend. Anyway, everyone, okay, let's get into the content over here. All right, it was a pretty good week too. It wasn't as exciting as week one, in my opinion, but it was pretty darn interesting. Okay, there are 5 games that I picked that I want to spend more time on than the others. This actually wasn't one of them. The Chiefs defeated the Chargers 27-24. It was a great game. That's what you'd expect, right? AFC West, best division in football. Two powerhouse teams, the Chiefs and Chargers, going at it, and it was a close game. So it's pretty much everything we want to see. I don't think there's much to report from this game, to be honest with you. The Chiefs' offense is looking good. I think they're number one or number two in points scored so far, and the Chargers' defense is no joke. So that's a pretty solid defense the Chargers have. You put up 27 points, that's impressive. Uh, like Chris was alluding to before, Herbert did sustain an injury, so we got to wait to see what's going to happen, what his status is this weekend. But Chiefs did have a good game here. So did the Chargers as well. It was a good, hard fought game, as you'd expect. I do want to give a shout out to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have to, because I was trashing the guy last year. I was trashing him going into this year. I didn't believe in the guy at all. And so far, the first 2 games this year, he's done really, really well. So Clyde, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a really good game. Mahomes obviously had a really good game. So this was a good game in general. I really didn't want to spend too much time on it. But the Chiefs are 2-0 now. They are so far undefeated early in the season. And you had the Jets, who upset the Browns. This is an interesting game, man. This is like so Browns. This is like so the Browns like can never get out of their own way. But kudos to the Jets because they earned it. And kudos to Rob Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, who recently said that in his opinion, Joe Flacco is still a really good NFL starter. And, pretty much everyone, laughed him out of the room. But Joe Flacco had 4 touchdowns this weekend, passing touchdowns against a good defense in Cleveland. Cleveland might not have the best quarterback right now. They got Jacoby Brissett. They still put up 30 points. But Cleveland does have a solid defense. They have a really good defense. And the Jets put up 31 points. Garrett Wilson had a fantastic game. So did Corey Davis. Corey Davis had a good game too, but Garrett Wilson, that's the one you care about. He was the early first round pick for the Jets this year. He had a really good game. I forgot the amount of yards, but I think it was over 100 yards. He had at least one. He had at least one touchdown. He might have had two, but I know he had at least one touchdown. Garrett Wilson had a great job. Actually, the Jets' offense overall did very, very well. And like I said, Joe Flacco had 4 passing touchdowns. So, man, that is just so Cleveland. That is just so Cleveland to lose a game like that, though. And with Jacoby Brissett, they put up 30 points. That is a game they had to win. And listen, I don't think the AFC North is what it used to be, but still, you want to have a chance to win that division because those other teams you're going against, if you're the Browns in your division, they're still tough. Pittsburgh's not the Pittsburgh that they used to be. They're still a tough team. They never go down without a fight. The Baltimore Ravens, they have Lamar Jackson. I don't think Baltimore is as good as they've been for the past 10 years. I think they've actually taken a step backwards in terms of talent, and they suffered a big injury last week with one of their starting cornerbacks going down. So Baltimore's in a little trouble over there, but they do have Lamar Jackson, who's operating very, very well. He's looking great, putting up his Lamar Jackson numbers. And he's getting his receivers in the game too. Rashad Bateman played very well again. Duvernay was on his way. It looked like he was on his way to having a second good game. He He didn't put up that many yards, but for the amount of targets that he had before he went down with his injury, he actually was putting up some yards. And I think it might have only been 40 yards, but he only had like a handful of receptions. He was doing very well. And Duvernay also returned, I think, a kickoff, 103 yards for a touchdown on special teams. So Duvernay is looking like a nice weapon there. But I think Lamar is off to a great start. I think he is using his weapons pretty well. Mark Andrews, the tight end for Baltimore, had a very good game, and a tight end you want to keep on your eyes on for fantasy purposes. Isaiah Likely. He was drafted in the one of the middle rounds this year by Baltimore, and you know Baltimore loves to use their tight ends. No other team likes to incorporate their tight ends more than Baltimore. And Isaiah Likely, who was out of Coastal Carolina, he put up something like 40, 45 yards, something like that. Doesn't sound like much, but remember this is a tight end. And the thing, and my point about Likely, about Isaiah Likely, is that they like to use their tight ends so much that I wouldn't be surprised if you see Andrews having his normal big games, and even Isaiah Likely getting more and more targets, maybe like 5 targets a game. And if Andrews goes down, Isaiah Likely is like a perfect handcuff tight end. He really is, because they're still going to operate with their tight ends, Baltimore, that is. So anyway, I'm talking about Baltimore. This is the Jets Browns game, but anyway, great win by the Jets. I'm really happy for them. A team really kind of needed it. You didn't want to see them go 0-2. The Browns, they're just going to have to try to tread water until Deshaun Watson comes back later this year. But man, that's not a good loss to the Jets. You want to lose 31-30, lose to the Bengals, lose to the Chargers, a team like that. You shouldn't be losing to the Jets when you're the Browns. You got too much talent. But that just is so Browns, isn't it? And I don't mean to crap on them, but that's just true. The Lions, Detroit Lions, defeat the Commanders from Washington, 36-27. This Lions offense, I think, is for real. I don't think it's an aberration. Jared Goff looks very, very good. Amon-Ra St. Brown is living up to that nickname of, the Sun God or the Man God or whatever nickname, whatever godlike nicknames are given him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is looking fantastic. He had a great game on the receiving side. He also ran, I think, for something like 66 yards, something like that. So, and he had at least one touchdown, Amon Ra. DeAndre Swift had another good game. The Lions offense for the second game in a row is clicking. I think they look absolutely legitimate. And it's still one player, I'll tell you, is just so disappointing on that team, production wise, is Hawkinson, man. Hawkinson. I've given up on that guy in terms of fantasy relevance. Maybe he's still a really good blocker in the NFL, but in terms of fantasy relevance, me myself, I don't have Hawkinson at all. I stayed away from him this year, and I just right now he's like fantasy irrelevant. I think he's going to continue to get even worse because sometime this year, I think sooner rather than later, they are going to have their first round pick, Jamison Williams, here to help in the lineup to help in the roster to help. So you're probably looking at even less targets for Hawkinson, I would assume. But anyway, the Lions offense is clicking. Dan Campbell's got his team clicking. Goff, kudos to him. Goff came to Detroit. Everyone felt like he was going to Siberia from sunny LA, Super Bowl bound team, the Rams, and he shipped off to Detroit. Sounds like Siberia. And right now the Lions are looking pretty darn sexy. Steve Evans. Dobbins going to be ready this week. Steve, I'm not sure if Dobbins for Baltimore is going to be ready this week. I haven't checked into him. Now, those Baltimore running backs, man, when they're healthy, they're so you can pretty much ride them to the bank like a healthy 49ers running back, can't you? You really can. If you have a healthy running back for Baltimore and a healthy running back for the 49ers, you can pretty much ride those guys to the bank, can't you? But it's a shame because Baltimore's game, their offense revolves so much around their run game, which I love. I'm kind of like an old school guy like that because I am old. So, but I haven't checked on Dobbins, and the reason being, Steve, is I don't have any shares of him in any of my fantasy leagues. So to me, he's other people do. They've got him on their bench right now, waiting for him to become active. But I haven't really kept an eye on him because I don't have Dobbins anywhere on any of my teams. Okay, let's move on. Buccaneers at the Saints. Here's another game. Not a surprise at all. Buccaneers took care of business 20-10 against the Saints. I'm not crazy about the Saints. I think other people out there are higher on the Saints than I am. I think they're a team that should be in playoff contention, in the playoff conversation. Maybe like end of November and early December, but I don't think they're a great team. Buccaneers, Buccaneers are staying. They're doing the Buccaneers thing. They won last week, I think, 19-3 against the Cowboys. But that was, Dak went down in that game early on in that game with his injury. Dak will be out for like I don't know anywhere from like 4 more weeks to 6 more weeks, I believe. According to Jerry Jones, it may only be 2 weeks, but who knows? But anyway, my point being that Dak went down last week. So Buccaneers put up 19 points. They only put up 20 points here. That does concern me. I mean, Godwin should be back soon. I do have shares of Godwin, so looking forward to him coming back whenever that's going to be. I think it's going to be sometime soon. So Fournette had a pretty good game. Evans. Here's the thing that stinks. Evans, wide receiver, got thrown out of the game, and I know he's suspended. For how long he's suspended for? It's at least one game because I've got him on one or two of my lineups, my rosters. I haven't checked to see how many games he's going to be suspended, but it's going to be at least this week. So if you have Evans like I do, he'll be on your bench this week. So anyway, Buccaneers are they're listen, they still have a really 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 good defense, but Buccaneers are kind of scaring me for the long run. um I'm wondering if Brady's head is into it, just given everything that he's had with his marital issues this year. I'm sure Mrs. Brady did not want him to come back for like his 25th year in the NFL or whatever it is, but he came back anyway. And hopefully his head is in it. But the Buccaneers have taken care of business. They have. They left in their defense. They left 3 points against Dallas last week, but that was pretty much against a mostly Dak-less Dallas Cowboys, though. And then they only let up 10 points against the Saints. And hey, I picked the Saints this week to beat the Buccaneers this past week, so I got it wrong. I just know that the Saints always give the Buccaneers, even the Tom Brady Buccaneers, a hard time. That wasn't the case here. The Buccaneers took care of business, and they are still one of the elite teams in the NFC. The Buccaneers, that is. The Saints, I don't know, man. I wasn't too crazy about the Saints coming into the season anyway. I think a lot of people were higher than I was. Okay, my team, the New York Giants, took care of business against the Panthers, 19-16. These two teams, I'm not surprised by the score. These two teams are very evenly matched in terms of their talent level. I think the difference here actually was coaching. I think Matt Rule looks like he really stinks for the Panthers, and it sounds like he's there's a good chance he's going to be out before midseason. He's going to be fired by midseason. Matt Rule. I know they've got like the easier part of the schedule, at least for the first half of the year, is over, and for the Panthers that is, and they're about to enter a pretty difficult like 4 or 5 game schedule ahead. So they could easily wind up being like 0-4, 0-5 soon, and if that happens, I think Rule is gone. I think he's gone. I think he's gone by week 6. To be honest, I have a feeling, unless they start rattling off wins, but I don't think they're going to. Anyway, pretty boring game, honestly. It was great for me. I'm a Giants fan. We got the win here. Nothing really to report in this game anyway. McCaffrey didn't have he had an okay game. He put over a little over 100 yards. And that was pretty much it. I don't think he had a touchdown. I believe I could be wrong about that, but he was held pretty quiet by the Giants. McCaffrey, that is. Saquon was held pretty quiet by the Panthers. There really was no like offense here to talk about, but two evenly matched teams anyway, and someone had to win. That my Giants did. I'm not complaining. We're 2-0. I'll take it any day of the week. Patriots upset the Steelers. This one I was kind of surprised about because I know the Steelers they lost Watt to an injury, and so that hurts. But they still have a really stacked, talented defense that knows what it's doing. And the Patriots, man, they're really, really lacking in talent. But like the point I made before, and a lot of people here, a lot of my compadres here, tell us the titles have disagreed with me. My point, yeah, Bill Belichick. I've called him a great equalizer. I still think he's a great head coach, and that you can never count the Patriots out. Now, I'm not saying the Patriots are a Super Bowl bound team. I don't even think they're a playoff bound team this year. I thought that coming into the season, they're not going to be a playoff bound team this year. But I do believe in the guy to rebuild another good team. It's just going to take a little time. But my point about Belichick is that with Belichick, you can never count the Patriots out. If you're going against some really, really good teams that can light it up, these offenses can light it up, that could be, that's going to give them a hard time. But I think for most other games, Belichick is going to keep his Patriots in the thick of things. And lo and behold, here you go. They upset the Steelers 17-14. I believe the game was in Pittsburgh, and the Patriots got the win, so they get their first win. They're 1-1, and we'll see how it goes from there. So, like I said, I think the Patriots are very much a talent deprived team, but Bill Belichick, man, like it's like having Mahomes. He's just, or Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or just Aaron Rodgers. Just Belichick as a head coach is just an equalizer. He's just incredible. So they got the upset over Pittsburgh here. Jaguars upset the Colts 24-0. Holy cow. That is incredible. Jaguars are definitely off to a better start than they were last year. They look like a better team, and that's probably because they're a well-coached team. Their coach, I forgot what's his name. The guy who used to be the coach of the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl a few years ago. I always brain fart on his name, but anyway, the Urban Meyer era at Jacksonville is mercifully gone. What a disaster that was. Jacksonville is looking pretty darn good. Is this going to be like some 8-9 win team? I highly doubt that. I think they're probably going to be like a 6-win team. I think the Jaguars will get some wins this year, and they got one here, 24-0. But really, more importantly, kind of like, what does that say about the Colts? Holy cow! 24. Not only did you lose this game, but you got blanked 24-0. That's absolutely ridiculous. And the Jaguars are the team that beat the Colts the last game of last season, the final game of last season, which wound up keeping the Colts out of the playoffs. And I forgot what the score of that game was too, but I think the Colts got their butts handed to them as well in that game too, which led to the jettisoning of Carson Wentz, who's now with the Commanders, and then the Colts traded for Matt Ryan. So, but it is not looking for good for the Colts. I think their offensive weapons are playing well in terms of Michael Pittman. I know he's injured. I believe he was injured. I believe he missed this past game or he got injured this game. I forgot. But and then Pittman's been playing well though this year, and just like he did last year. And obviously Jonathan Taylor overall is playing well this year. But really upset about the Colts in this game. I mean, where is their season going? This is a talented team that could turn it around, but two losses in a row, starting off 0-2, and especially losing this game to the Jaguars, and especially 24-0. Holy cow, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. Definitely makes me question what's going on down over there. Sorry about that, guys. And then moving on to next game, the game of the week. Definitely the game of the week. Dolphins upset the Ravens 42-38. The Dolphins came back and won this game. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Holy cow, man. It's living up to the billing. It's living up to what most of us thought this would be, and that is an absolute two-headed monster. There were people who thought that maybe Jalen Waddle would suffer because of Tyreek Hill, or that Tyreek Hill, in terms of numbers, in terms of production, that or Tyreek Hill's, conversely may suffer because Jalen Waddle, he may actually wind up getting receptions. People be focused on containing Tyreek Hill, so it's going to open up things for Waddle. I don't think you're going to be able to contain both of these guys. I think I think those guys put up together. I think last week, I think over 250 yards combined. I believe they both of them had an awesome game. And good luck to NFL defenses containing those guys, both of those guys. And Tua, hats off to Tua, 6 touchdowns for Tua last week. Holy cow, man! Miami's legitimate, and I love it because Miami needed to get sexy again. That's a sexy city. They needed to be sexy to get back being sexy like they were during the Dan Marino days, and it looks like it's happening. So kudos to the Dolphins. They're looking fantastic. They are looking like, and I realize it's only week 2. I realize that, but that performance was so impressive against the Ravens that you have to take it as legitimate. It is. I mean, and you got Waddle's looking like the Jalen Waddle most of us thought he would be. Just looked phenomenal. And Tyreek Hill, man, what a great trade for Miami. What a great trade for Miami. And they have a heck of an offensive mind as their head coach. I forgot his name, but the guy who used to be the offensive coordinator for the 49ers, he's now their head coach. It's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be an interesting year for the Dolphins. Rams defeated the Falcons 31-27. Here's another team that is just underwhelming, the Rams. Falcons have been having a pretty good year. They've been in both games so far. I believe they lost last week. I forgot who it was who they played last week, but they've been in both games. And here, against the Rams, the defending NFL champions, defending Super Bowl champions. Falcons put up a pretty good game here. They kept it close, and I think that actually it says a lot about the Rams, though. I'm not comfortable where the Rams are. They do need another wide receiver. And if I'm OBJ, I'd be looking to go back to the Rams. And if I'm the Rams, I'd be looking to get OBJ back. But just not impressed by the Rams. They should have handled the Falcons easier. They are a much better team than the Falcons. But kudos to the Falcons. Kudos to the Falcons. Drake London had a pretty good game. Kudos to him. And it's I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be too far down the road. I believe before we see Desmond Ritter as a starting quarterback. Mariota's been okay. He's been okay. I got to give his kudos. But I think it's not gonna be too long down the road when we start seeing Desmond Ritter. Okay, 49ers defeated the Seahawks 27-7. Big news in this game, obviously. Trey Lance goes down with a broken ankle, a brutal injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. So this is yet another year that Trey Lance is not playing football. This is like the third year that he's not playing football. He didn't play last year, his rookie year. Sat on the bench the whole time behind Garoppolo, and he needed to. And he didn't play the previous year in college uh, because of COVID. This is going to be the third year in a row that Trey Lance hasn't played quarterback. And the 49ers, I always thought it was a stupid trade. Not that I disliked Trey Lance. And I would have understood if a team took him. I think the 49ers traded up to the number 3 spot, maybe the number 4 spot to get Trey Lance, if I recall correctly. If I recall correctly. But they traded up pretty high in the first round to get him last year. San Francisco did, and they parted with 3 first-round picks to do it. I thought that was absolutely insane. And as of right now, and anyone else who disagreed with that trade, we're being proven to be right. It was a stupid, stupid trade. Anyway, Garoppolo comes off the bench, and lo and behold, the 49ers look like the 49ers, right? They took care of business against the lowly Seahawks, 27-7. Not a surprise there. When Garoppolo came off the bench, that's not a surprise at all. Seahawks are just really horrible. I know the Seahawks had a good game last week against Denver, but we'll get to Denver. Denver's not looking good. Denver's not looking good. They scare me. Cowboys defeated the Bengals 20-17. The Cowboys absolutely ripped apart Joe Burrow and that offensive line. Um, Cowboys defense is for real, people. It is for real. They kept the Buccaneers offense to 19 points, I believe, last week, and they held the Bengals offense to 17 points this week. The Dallas defense is for real. Now, even when they do get Dak back, I still don't think they're going to be that great of a team. I think they're lacking in. I think they're lacking in offensive power. Zeke doesn't seem to be the Zeke that we were used to for like 5 years. The offensive line is clearly not the offensive line that it used to be. And not that they don't have weapons, they do. They do. CD Lamb is still a weapon. I have my doubts as to whether or not he's going to be a true blue, legitimate, like top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But I still think he's going to be. I still think he's a very good wide receiver. Um, but I'll tell you, Noah Brown for the Cowboys. Very impressed by his 2 performances. I was very impressed by his performance this week. I forgot how many yards he put up, but I think he put up the most amount of yards for Dallas this last week, if I recall off the top of my head. And he had a very good game. Michael Gallup should be back soon, so you're looking and I know Dalton Schultz, the tight end, got hurt, and he's probably going to miss this week's game. I don't think he's going to miss that much time though. You are looking when you get Dak back, you are looking at pretty good receiving core, and Zeke. I don't. It looks like Zeke's not the running back that he used to be, but Tony Pollard had a very good game. And I don't know, you might start seeing a transition to Tony Pollard as the RB1 at some point this year, because he's looking much more dynamic than Zeke is. And so I think Pollard, you might be seeing a changing of the guard this year from Zeke to Pollard. But when Zeke when Zeke gets back and if everyone else stays healthy, all their weapons, I think Dallas is going to be a good team. I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have the offensive line to do it. I still think they need like a better wide receiver one. But if you're looking at CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Noah Brown, who looks to be a pretty darn good receiver, and Dalton Schultz, that's a pretty good receiving core. It is. It is. So I think Dallas, if they can hang in there until Dak gets back, I think they're going to be relevant. They are, and their defense, the Cowboys' defense, is looking legit enough to keep the Cowboys in the thick of things. So their defense is looking really good, really scary. And Micah Parsons, oh my God, oh my God. I'll say it right now, Micah Parsons. I'm already putting in the L into. I'm putting Micah Parsons into the LT Ray Lewis conversation. I think he looks that damn good, that damn dominant. He's going to have an outstanding career. He's an absolute monster. And yeah, I'm already putting him in the LT and Ray Lewis conversation. He looks phenomenal. He looks like an absolute generational talent. Let's see. Broncos defeat the Texans 16-9. Broncos get the win. Unimpressive fashion, man. Unimpressive fashion. But they lost last week to Seattle. And now listen, they got the win. A win's a win. But there's a difference between, say, like the Giants beating a not so great team because the Giants aren't a great team themselves, and then the Broncos, who should be on paper, and I thought at least coming into the season, a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Not that they're definitely going to the Super Bowl, but I definitely had the Broncos as a legit Super Bowl contender from the AFC. Uh, I'll tell you, I even said when this trade was made, when they traded for Russell Wilson, I liked the trade, and I still like the trade because I thought it made sense because Denver has a lot of talent, and they needed a serious upgrade at quarterback in order to make them a Super Bowl contender. And I still think it was the right trade. But I also thought this at the time when the trade was made is that Russell Wilson's been scaring me for like a year and a half in terms of not that he's like completely awful, but he's not looked like Russell Wilson that we're used to. And this goes back to the middle of 2020. Ever since the middle of 2020, I don't think Russell Wilson has looked like the quarterback that we had known since like he came in first onto the scene his rookie year, whenever that was, like 2014 or whatever it was. He has not looked the same. And that's with Metcalf, and that's with Lockett. Yes, and I realize Seattle has not been a good team for the past years. They have not had an offensive line, but he did have some good wide receivers. And Russ, we've always known Russ to be able to work wonders in terms of maneuvering the pocket, manipulating the pocket, scrambling, and throwing, just buying time to throw great accurate passes after he's bought himself time with his legs. I have not been impressed with Russ, like I said, for almost 2 years now. And so maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. Maybe it will. Maybe it's just a slow start. New offense, playing in Denver, which I would imagine it's got to get some. It takes a little time to get used to because the air is thin up there. If you've been to Denver, if you've been to Boulder, trying to breathe over there when you're not used to it, it takes some time to get used to. I've been there before. It takes some time to get used to. So, but anyway, maybe it's just listen, it could just be just getting used to the new system and everything. But I am worried about Russ because, like I said, I didn't like him his last like year and a half at Seattle. And yeah, it could be just that he's on a bad team and he really didn't want to be there anymore. Maybe that's just it. I don't know, but I do have my concerns about him. But anyway, listen, they did take care of business. I do want to see more from Denver because they've got more to give. I do. They've got a nice, really nice two-headed monster at running back with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, and they've got some good wide receivers. So in Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy, and one or two other wide receivers too. I expect more, and they have a good defense. Denver's got a very good defense, very solid, good top tier defense in the NFL. They need to be winning. They need to be doing better, and they should be doing better than they've done for the past 2 weeks. So, but I'm just saying, I'm raising a red flag about Russ Wilson. He does scare me. All right, this game. This is a game I want to speak about over here. Cardinals defeated the Raiders 29-23. Cardinals, man, they look like absolute garbage last week. Um, and Kyler Murray this week. Uh, Cardinals were down pretty big against the Raiders late in the game, and they came back. Russ did his, not Russ, I'm sorry. Kyler Murray did his Murray thing, He looked like a young Russell Wilson out there, just running out, scrambling out of trouble, buying time, buying time, buying time until someone gets open, making a really nice, beautiful pinpoint pass for a touchdown or first down or whatever. And they came back and they defeated the Raiders 29-20. It says 29-23. I thought the Raiders had 24. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, it looked like the Raiders had this game in hand until late in the fourth quarter. And Kyler Murray did his thing, man. And I do think this is the launch pad for the Cardinals. Um, a lot of people, when we are talking about going into the season, when we're talking about what teams we like, being Super Bowl contenders, who we see as Super Bowl contenders, I had the Cardinals as one of them. I think a lot of people didn't mention the Cardinals because of their late season collapse last year. I get it. For me, I didn't forget about the start they had last year when they went something like 8-0, and they were the last team to be undefeated, the Cardinals, and they were kicking everybody's ass up until that point, up until they got their first loss, and then they started, losing games. But I'm not forgetting what they did at like the first 8 games of last season. Like I said, they were undefeated. They were kicking everyone's ass. I remember they kicked the crap out of the Rams, made them look silly the first time they went up against the Rams. Second time around, it was a different story. But I didn't forget that at all. And I believe in Kyler Murray. I think he's a phenomenal talent. It goes without saying. We all know that. I know some people kind of have their doubts. Oh, he just got the big contract. Last week he looked horrible. End of the season he wasn't very good. This team also has injuries too. They could use DeAndre Hopkins. But anyway, and I think the rest of the wide receivers really aren't all that great to begin with anyway. He's working with what he's got. He had a great game against the Raiders. Kyler Murray, I think, is officially, I am declaring him back. Joe Knows is declaring Kyler Murray back. And I need him to be because he's one of my quarterbacks in one of my leagues. Anyway, but hats off to the Cardinals. They pulled off a big win against the Raiders, late in the game. And the Raiders, listen, I still think the Raiders are a good team. The Cardinals can do this to pretty much anyone. They are a dangerous, dangerous team. And I should say, really, Kyler Murray is friggin' dangerous. He's like Lamar Jackson, but I think in some ways even better because Lamar might be even better with his legs, but Kyler is better with his arm. He's a better, more accurate quarterback, I think, than Lamar. Even though I think Lamar's more accurate than people give him credit for. I think Lamar's is accurate enough. Lamar is just I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's awesome. But Kyler Murray, man, he's a special talent, and he's just you can never count. Just like Lamar Jackson, you can never count the damn guy out. So really impressive. But I don't think it says too many bad things about the Raiders. Raiders are, I believe they're 0-2. They're 0-2. All right, but listen, losing to the Cardinals. Cardinals are a good team, and Kyler Murray can do that to anyone. I still think, I still believe in Carr. I still believe in Devontae Adams, and I think the Raiders have a pretty good defense as well. Hunter Renfro not off to a great start for the Raiders, but overall, I still believe in the Raiders. I do. I think they can be good. It's just that they play in a really, really tough division. They play in a very tough division, and in Cardinals, man, that's not an easy team to play against. Okay, Packers defeated the Bears 27-10. Not surprised here. Justin Fields had a very quiet game. I think he only had like 7 completions on 10 attempts. They mostly ran the ball. David Montgomery of the Bears put up well over 100 yards on the ground. I think he put up like 122 yards on the ground alone. He had a very good game. But listen, the Bears are a rebuilding team. That's it. So expect games like this. It's going to happen. Hopefully Justin Fields continues to grow, and the Bears have to make sure they get an offensive line around that guy because young quarterbacks, they need them. They need them. If they're going to grow at all, they need the protection and the help in the running game from their offensive line, but they also need to be protected against the blitz and pressure. Anyway, Bears took care of business 27-10. No surprise here. I don't think there's anything really to talk about in terms of the Packers. They put up 27 points. They should. They should. Aaron Rodgers had a fine game. Aaron Jones, the running back, had a really, really great game, both on the ground and in the air. He had, I think, 2 touchdowns. I believe Aaron Jones, one receiving, one rushing, I believe. So great game by Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, just spread the ball around to multiple receivers. So I don't think there's anyone that really stood out. Bunch of guys got like 3 or 4 targets. So, but Packers took care of business. The Bills defeated the Titans. Holy cow! I've got these asterisks here, because these are the ones with the asterisks are the games that I really want to spend a little more time on. The Bills are on a mission. I saw this in 1986 as a Giants fan. I'm 51 years old. I remember the Giants lost to the Bears in the NFC Championship game in 1985. I believe it was the NFC Championship game. They lost in the playoffs, but they lost to the Bears 17 to nothing. Uh, Not a surprise. That was the Bears' year. The Bears were phenomenal that year. That was the year the Bears went 15-1, won the Super Bowl. It was one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen throughout an entire season. Were the Chicago Bears from 1985. And that to this day is the single best defense I've ever seen with my own two eyes, even better than the 2000 Ravens. Those 85 Bears were incredible. But my team, the Giants, lost to the Bears in 85. My team was the Giants were a very, very mentally strong team, not just talented but also mentally strong. And they basically, made it their mission that in 1986, the following year, things were going to be different. And they were basically on a mission. You could see it with the Giants early on in 1986 that they had that feel of the team that this is their year. Just like the Bears in 85, pretty early on with the Bears in 85, it was the same thing with the Giants in 1986. It felt like this is their year. Kind of like the Buccaneers in the early 2000s, the year that they won it too. Buccaneers had that same feeling. Um, the Bills have that feeling. The Bills have the feeling like, barring an injury, to Josh Allen, which I don't think that guy gets injured. He's like, the dude's a lumberjack. I don't think he gets injured, but barring an injury to Josh Allen, it looks like this is going to be the Bills' year. Even as great as the Dolphins are playing, I got to go with the Bills because they are just taking care of business. Holy cow! But also the Titans too. You know, the Giants defeated the Titans in Week 1, close game, but really the Titans that we are used to from like the past 5 years, the really fundamentally sound team that does like everything right, that is really tough physically and mentally, that is well coached. Even when they don't have the best of talent in certain areas, they still find ways to win. Those Titans so far this year, that's not it. And I didn't expect them to win this game at all. And I thought this was going to be a blowout. But when I thought it was going to be a blowout, I thought it might be like 24-7, not 41-7. Tennessee looks like crap. Holy cow. And unfortunately, Derrick Henry, who I was still very high on, and I took in every single league that I possibly can. I'm in like 5 fantasy leagues. I think I got him in 4 because he fell to me every time that I picked. As like even as far as the number 9 spot out of 12 teams, I took him. I was happy to take him, and I thought he'd be back. And even without AJ Brown playing on the outside, I figured this dude's a monster. Um, he not looking great. Obviously you can't go to Derrick Henry when you're down like 24-7 in the blink of an eye in this game. Derrick Henry did get a touchdown. He did have a rushing touchdown. He was actually looking fine in the beginning of the game, but this game got out of hand quick. And you're not going to, you know, he's Derrick Henry kind of gets written out of the script at that point. But Tennessee doesn't look good. They don't look good at all. Their offense looks absolutely feeble. It looked feeble last week against the Giants, and it looked even worse here against the Bills, as it should. The Bills are very good defense. Everyone knows them for their offense. The Bills actually have a very, very good defense as well. The Titans are scary. They really need their first round pick, Treylon Burks, to develop real quick because he's going to need to be AJ Brown real quick because the Titans need it. If they're going to have a chance at all making the playoffs this year, they're going to need at least one of their wide receivers to step up big time, and that's probably going to have to be Treylon Burks. They have another guy named Kyle Phillips, who I liked a lot. I'm not sure how he did this game against the Bills, but I know against the Giants he actually had pretty good game. But I don't think Phillips is ever going to be like a wide receiver one. If they're going to have a wide receiver one this year, it's going to be Treylon Burks, and they need him to develop real fast. Okay, guys. Eagles defeated the Vikings 24-7. Here's another team that looks like it's on a mission. This team is for real. The Eagles I'm talking about. They look scary. Jalen Hurts had yet another great game. AJ Brown, I think it was AJ Brown that had the big game. No, AJ Brown had a fairly quiet game, but I just assumed the Vikings were probably focused on him. But Jalen Hurts got the ball all over the place. The Eagles' offense did phenomenal. The wide receivers, he spread the ball around to many different receivers. They all put up a pretty good amount of yards, including Devonta Smith. Um, and but Jalen Hurts had something like, what was it like? I think he put up like two passing touchdowns, and he might have run for a touchdown as well. Eagles took care of this game. The Eagles probably could have scored more points. I think they backed off a little bit there at the end, but they look like absolute monsters. They took care of the Vikings 24-7. I think that game was in Minnesota too. I could be wrong, but the Vikings, man, say Adam Thielen, it does not look very good at all, and which stinks because I have him in like two of my teams, two of my rosters. But Vikings need some help. The Eagles did. I believe Justin Jefferson may have had a pretty quiet game. I think the Eagles might have been pretty good at minimizing his damage this week, if I recall off the top of my head. But Dalvin Cook really didn't do much. Thielen has really been nowhere to be seen, so I'm worried about Thielen because they really do need listen, Justin Jefferson's awesome, but you do need some, other what you do need like a wide receiver too, a legit wide receiver too, and that used to be Thielen. So, maybe he'll come along. We'll see, but he's off to a really slow start this year. So, but the Eagles look scary. They look scary. Jalen Hurts. Hey, listen, I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder because I remember last year people were saying that the Eagles should have drafted a quarterback last year, and I was thinking, and at that time I was thinking, no, this is when they just traded Carson Wentz. I was thinking, you know what, give Jalen Hurts a shot. You spent the second round pick on him. The guy does have talent. He does have talent. He wasn't accurate last year as a quarterback. He simply wasn't. But the guy was getting wins. He was getting scoring touchdowns. He was keeping drives alive. He was doing everything you'd want a quarterback to do. And quarterbacks, here's the thing with inaccurate quarterbacks, especially rookies or second year quarterbacks, they can get more accurate. They can. And that's what we're seeing with Jalen Hurts, especially with more talent around him too, like AJ Brown, like Devonta Smith being his second year. He's in his second year now. That means a lot. He's got a year under his belt. It means a lot for Devonta Smith, and I still believe in Devonta Smith. I thought overall Devonta Smith actually had a pretty good year last year. But Jalen Hurts, he's looking even better than he did last year. He's looking more accurate. I'm not surprised. Like I said, quarterbacks can and often do get more accurate. So he is looking phenomenal. And like I said, two drafts ago, I thought they should just not draft a quarterback and they should give Jalen Hurts a chance, which they did last year. And he did. He was doing very well last year. Reasonably well, putting up big numbers. And now this year, holy cow, Eagles look legitimate. Eagles have a really tough defense too. Everyone's focused on the offense, but Eagles actually have a very, very sound defense at each level of the defense. Just kind of like the Cowboys actually too. But the Eagles do have their very, very sound at each level of the defense. That is the defensive line, their linebackers, and the secondary. So and their running game is doing very well too. The Eagles. Miles Sanders is having a nice resurgence. Kenneth Gainwell overall is doing pretty well. Eagles are looking pretty good, man. They're looking really good. I'd say right now, just first 2 weeks in, it's early on, but the Eagles look like the best team in the NFC. They definitely look like the most dynamic team in the NFC. So looking really good. And that was it. That was it for those games from week 2, everyone. So let's move on to the week 3 picks. Let me share my screen. Okay, so all right, it says week 1 results. That's supposed to say week 2 result. You know what, guys? I'm sorry, I didn't change it. All right, here are my week 2 results. I forgot to put my week 2 results up here on the screen. I actually, with the spread, I went 8-8, and then straight up, I went 8-8. So here in week 2, as you can see, week 1, my week 1 results were horrible, horrible, which stinks because last year I was on fire. For like the first 5 weeks last year, I was on fire, both with the spread and straight up. This year, not so much. So my week 1 results, I did very poorly with the spread. I was 5-11. And straight up, I was 9-6-1. Okay, so week 2, I went 8-8 with the spread and 8-8 straight up. So, had a push. But my full season results so far with the spread, I'm 13-19. That's not good. I got to improve that. And then so far, my season results through week 2, straight up, I'm 17, 14, and 1. So I need to improve. I'm really disappointed in myself because I usually do very, very well in my picks. So I'm very disappointed so far. But anyway, all right, let's move on to my picks for week 3. And again, I'm using the spreads from DraftKings Sportsbook, and it says as of 9/13/22. I forgot to change that. That's actually as of tonight, as of like an hour and a half ago, September 21st. These were the spreads for week 3 games. Okay, so Steelers at the Browns. Steelers at the Browns. The Browns are giving 4 points. I'm going to take the Steelers getting the points and the Browns straight up. I do think it'll be a close game. Divisional rivals. I think it's gonna be close. Both of these teams have holes, but I like the mental toughness of the Steelers. With that point spread, I'm going to take the Steelers. I almost want to pick the Steelers to win straight up. To be honest, the Browns. I'm disappointed in that loss against the Jets. That was absolutely ridiculous. Nothing against the Jets, but the Browns should have won that game. But you know what? I'll split the difference here. I'm comfortable going Steelers getting the points, Browns straight up, and it is in Cleveland. Okay, Chiefs at the Colts. The Colts are giving 5.5 points. I'm sorry, excuse me. It's the Chiefs at the Colts. The Colts are getting 5.5 points in Indianapolis. I do expect Indianapolis to start looking a lot better. I do. Unfortunately, they're going against a great team this week, and I realize it's in Indianapolis. It's funny. I remember last season's games. I remember Indianapolis they were really good against the very good teams, whether it was the Chiefs, the Titans, who they played twice when the Titans were very good last year against the Ravens. I think the Colts, if I recall correctly, kept coming up on the short end of those games, but they stuck with those really, really good teams. The Colts did. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts stuck with the Chiefs this game in Indianapolis. Um, but the Chiefs are really, really hot. I have to go with the Chiefs even though the Chiefs are giving 5.5 points in Indianapolis, I'm still going to go with the Chiefs giving the points, and I'm taking the Chiefs straight up. Bills at the Dolphins, the game of the week. Holy cow! Bills at the Dolphins. The Dolphins. This game's in Miami, and the Dolphins are off to a hot start, just like Buffalo is. But the Dolphins are getting 6 points at Miami. Um, I'm taking the Bills straight up, no matter what. It was really I thought about taking the Bills. I thought about taking the Bills, giving the points, because I could still see this being a good game. The Bills winning it by 1 touchdown. That's not a blowout. But you know what? I'm going to split the difference on this one too. I'm comfortable going with the Dolphins getting the points at home, and I'm definitely picking the Bills straight up. Even though the game's in Miami, I'm taking the Bills straight up. That team's on a mission. I would assume Buffalo's going to lose one game this year at least, but man, we'll see who it's going to be against. It could be against the Dolphins. I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins won this game. But the Bills are a proven playoff team. They've been in these really tough games before. Um, the Bills are the ones who are experienced in these type of games, high pressure games against really good opponents. I expect the Bills to come out on top, even though it's in Miami. So I am going to go with the Bills straight up, but I'll take the Dolphins getting the points at home in sexy Miami. Okay, Eagles at the Commanders. The Commanders are getting 6.5 points at home. Um, I could see this actually wind up being a pretty decent game. I can. But I'm going to take the Eagles, who've just been so hot. I got to go with the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles, even though they're giving the points, and I'm going to go with the Eagles straight up. Bengals at the Jets. Jets are getting 5 points at home. I think this will be a bounce back week for the Bengals. It's most people might say, yeah, of course it's going to be a bounce back week. They're playing against the Jets. The Jets can get some pressure on quarterbacks, and the Bengals' offensive line has been horrible. It's been horrible. And their defense hasn't been that great either. Bengals' defense was actually really solid last year, and it's one of the reasons why they went to the Super Bowl. It's not the reason, but their defense was actually pretty good, the Bengals, last year. Um, I got to say, Joe Flacco was looking very comfortable with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and and Corey Davis, and the Jets running game did pretty well last week too. Man, I'm kind of second guessing myself. But you know what? I'm gonna assume that the Bengals are gonna turn things around. It's at the Meadowlands, but I'll go with the Bengals giving the 5 points, and I'll take that. You know what? I'm gonna change it right here. I'm gonna change it to Jets getting the points at home, but I'll take the Bengals straight up. I'll take the Jets getting the points at home, and I'll take the Bengals straight up. Every time I remember last year, anytime I took the Jets, it was a loss. It was a loss. But I do think the Jets have better weapons this year. They have legit weapons. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore is in his second year. They got Brees Hall. Even Michael Carter, the second year running back. It's his second year. I don't know. So I'll take the Jets getting the points at home and the Bengals straight up. Okay, Ravens at the Patriots. The Patriots are getting 2.5 points in New England. I'm going to take the Ravens giving the points and the Ravens straight up. I don't think that game's going to be close. Lions at the Vikings. That's interesting because the Lions offenses look really, really good, but it's in Minnesota. I'll tell you what. So the Vikings are giving 6 points in this game. I'll take the Lions getting the points, but I'll take the Vikings straight up. Man, I would not be surprised if the Lions won this game, but I'll take the Lions getting the points and the Vikings straight up in Minnesota. Raiders at the Titans. Titans are getting 2 points at home. The Titans are getting 2 points at home. I'll take the Titans getting the points in this game. It's only a 2 point spread, but I do think this is going to be a close game. I could see this game going either way. Um, I'll take the Titans getting the points at home, and I'll take the Raiders straight up to win a close game straight up. Saints at the Panthers. Saints defense is pretty good. I don't think it's as great as other people think it is, but it's pretty good defense. Um, I'll take the Saints getting the points and the Saints straight up. So the game is in Carolina. The Panthers are getting 3 points. Oh, I have it as the Saints getting the points. You know what? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the Panthers getting the points. So I'm going to take the Panthers getting the 3 points at home, and I'll take the Saints straight up to win a close game. Texans at the Bears. The Bears are laying 3 points. I'm taking the Texans getting the points and the Texans straight up. The reason being that the Texans they're looking kind of solid for a lower tier team. They're in the same tier as the Bears, and to be honest with you, they're in the same tier as my Giants as well. For a lower tier team, the Texans seem to be fairly balanced. I'm okay with how the Texans have performed so far this year. Um, and I think they're a more complete team than the Bears. I do, and I realize the game is in Chicago, um, but I'm going to take the Texans getting those 3 points, and I'll take the Texans straight up for an upset win in Chicago. Jaguars at the Chargers. The Chargers are giving 7 points. Assuming Herbert is playing. If Herbert is playing, I'm taking the Chargers, giving the points, and the Chargers straight up. Packers at the Buccaneers. That's a good game. Took the Buccaneers, giving the points, so I'm taking the Buccaneers straight up. I would not be surprised if the Packers win this game. Packers lost week 1, but Packers are always that team. I say Aaron Rodgers is always that quarterback. When Packers, they get a loss, they look like crap. People get kind of down on them, and then they rattle off like 5 big wins in a row. And I can see them going to Tampa Bay and pulling this game out. The Packers wide receivers definitely leave you wanting a lot more. I do think someone, at least one wide receiver is going to start stepping up big. I do fairly soon. I don't think it's Lazard. I'm not that big on Lazard, but maybe it will be Dubs. Maybe it'll be Dubs. I'm not sure, but I do think there will be a wide receiver who's gonna start. He's gonna start to shine sometime fairly soon. I don't know about this game because the Buccaneers defense is really good. So the Packers still have Aaron Rodgers. They still have a really devastating run game in Aaron Jones and Dillon, and both of those running backs are used so well in the receiving game as well. They're used so well in the receiving game, both of them, not just one, but both of them. They're so dangerous. But I gotta go, even though Tampa Bay has really been underwhelming so far this year, and they are now without Mike Evans. Ooh, Mike Evans. All right, all right. I'll still go with the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, giving the point and a half. You know what? I'm going to change it right here on the fly. I'm going to change it. Mike Evans is out. That scares me. I'll take the Packers getting the point and a half. I'll take the Packers getting the point and a half in Tampa Bay. I'll take the Buccaneers straight up to win a close game. Rams at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are getting 3.5 points at home. I'll take the Cardinals getting the points at home. I'll take the Rams straight up. Let's see. I do think the Cardinals are about to get hot after that win against the Raiders. And like I said, I've been unimpressed with the Rams so far. And last year, Kyler Murray gave the Rams a very hard time the first game of the season. Falcons at the Seahawks. Seahawks are giving a point and a half. I'll take the Falcons getting the points, and I'll take the Seahawks straight up. I think the Falcons are a better team than the Seahawks. Um, but the game is in Seattle. That's still a tough location, very tough location to win in, even though they're not a good team. Seattle's not a good team. I'll take the Falcons getting the points, and I'll take the Seahawks straight up. I'll split the difference there. Let me check out the comments over here. Mike D's checking in. Hey, Mike, how's it going on, buddy? Thanks for checking in, my friend. Let's see, Mike. I'm about to talk about your Broncos over here, Mike. Um, 49ers at the Broncos. The Broncos are getting a point and a half. I'm surprised about that. Again, this spread, this is from DraftKings Sportsbook. The 49ers at the Broncos. The Broncos are getting a point and a half in Denver. Um, you know, I do. There's a lot of room for improvement by Denver. There is, but you got Garoppolo back at the helm for the 49ers. That excites me. That excites me because that 49ers offense clicks when he is on the field. So I'm going to go with the 49ers getting the point and a half, and I'll take the 49ers straight up for the upset win in Denver. I, of course, will not be surprised at all if the Broncos won in Denver in this game. It should be a really good game. It should be a good game. But, man, I want to see Russ Wilson starting to put it together. Just like I said, for a year and a half before the season, Russ has worried me. I don't think he's looked that good, but he's got the talent to work with there at Denver. He's got a really, really strong defense to get him the ball and to keep scores low. Russ, I want to start seeing you, Russ, doing more Russ-like things. Okay, Cowboys at the Giants. The Cowboys at my Giants Monday night game. I hate my team. I love my Giants, but I hate my team in prime time. Ah, especially Monday night games. I hate it. Actually, I like them. I'm more comfortable with them playing on Monday night than I am Sunday night games. But anyway, the Giants. Listen, I'm not complaining. My Giants are 2-0. I love it. But the Cowboys. You look at the opponents they played against. They lost to the Buccaneers 19-3, and that was when Dak went down, like in the middle of the first or middle of the second quarter in Week 1. So it was 19-3. The defense held the Buccaneers to 19 points. They only put up 3 points, but like I said, Dak got injured in the middle of the game. And then last week they had an upset against the Bengals, and the Cowboys defense has been looking really good. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to stay with the Cowboys defense. I think the Cowboys defense is there's a good chance they're going to be feasting on Daniel Jones and that offensive line this week, especially the interior of the Giants' offensive line. They're going to be getting roasted. I got a bad feeling about this game. So I'd feel a lot more comfortable if both teams were at full strength. Cowboys had Dak, and the Giants had Leo Williams, who's out, and Thibodeau, and Ojulari, and Aaron Robinson, their second year outside corner. And Dallas had all their guys back. I'd feel a lot more comfortable about this game. But the Giants are missing a lot on defense as well. They're missing a lot. So this is a game I'd love to see the Giants offense start to click better. But man, Dallas's defense, that's gonna be really hard to do because that is legitimate, especially Micah Parsons. Holy cow. Like I said, I'm already putting Micah Parsons in the Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis conversation. I think he's that good that he already deserves to be talked about that way. So I'm going to take the Cowboys getting the points on the road. I'm going to take the Cowboys straight up to win. I just don't like where the Giants defense is right now. They've played really well the past 2 weeks, but losing Leo Williams now as well. I mean, come on. You're already missing Thibodeau and you're already missing Ojolari, and now you're going to be missing Leo Williams as well. I think it's just too much. I think it's just too much. And the Cowboys are missing weapons on offense. Obviously they're missing Dak. Schultz will probably be out this week as well. But I still think they're going to have enough with Pollard and CD Lamb and Noah Brown, who I think who's looked really solid. I think they're going to have enough to win against the Giants' depleted defense, and I think the Cowboys' defense is going to feast on the Giants' offense, their offensive line. So I think it'll be a good game. It's going to be a close game. These are two not so great teams right now. I think it's going to be a good game, but I will take the Cowboys getting the points and the Cowboys straight up. So anyway, that is that. That is it for the picks, everybody. Mike, just in time, go Broncos. Hey man, Mike, what's going on with Russ Wilson? What is going on with Russ Wilson? Everyone wants to know what's going on, man. That team's ready to click, man. They are ready to compete for a Super Bowl. I'm not picking them, to go to the Super Bowl, but man, that team is ready to compete for a Super Bowl, and it's up to Russ. They got the wide receivers, they have the running backs, they have the defense. They need Russ to be Russ. He doesn't have to be 2017 or 2018 Russ, but they need him to be Russ Wilson, something close to that. So we'll see what's going on, man. We'll see what's going on because that's a tough division. So anyway, I'm pretty much out of here. It's 9:18. He's always a slow starter. You know what, Mike? I didn't know that. I didn't know that actually. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So anyway, so I hope so because I love that trade. I was saying earlier, Mike, if you didn't hear me, uh, Mike says that Russ. I'm sorry, I should be showing these up here. Mike says that he doesn't really care about football until week 7 or 8. You know what? You know what? That might be true. That might be true. Who knows? But yeah, Mike is saying that Mike is our in-house Denver Broncos fan. And in case you did not know, he is the official #1 Denver Broncos fan, and he's got the proof. He's got the proof to back it up too. So anyway, but yeah, I want to see Russ get better. I want to see Denver with that defense, with that two-headed running monster, running game there. I want to see them getting back into the thick of things there. They're too damn good not to be. But anyway, guys, I'm pretty much out here. Just a friendly reminder. Just a friendly reminder. If you can, here are the Twitter handles for me and all my compadres here at Toilets and Titles. There's like 16 of us now. I just updated it. I've been saying for the past 8 months I was going to update it. I just updated it this morning with like a bunch of the new guys. Like Drop the Leash, Jason, George Reed, Nino Brown, Chuck Steele, Andrew Steele Davis, who goes by at Andrew Steele D. So we got two Steels. We got Chuck Steele and Andrew Steele Davis. I don't know, I think we're gonna have to get those two like in a cage match together and battle out to see who the real Steele is. Two Steele enter, one Steele leaves, something like that. But anyway, if you can give everyone a follow, I'd greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. And just one last friendly reminder: don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review. Why? Because we deserve it. Anyway, this is Joe Knows. I am out of here. I'll catch up with you next week when we review the week 3 games and I give you my picks for the week 4 games. Adios, everyone. Have a great night. Take care.